Hi, I'm Taylor. I love travel, I do it often, and I love to save money when I can. In this vlog, we're going to be traveling to Portland, Oregon, and I'll be sharing some of my travel and budget travel tips. Because at the end of the day, there's no right way to travel. It's all just personal preference.
Please like and subscribe.
Let's just go. Everyone says this, but it's also 100% true. One of the best ways to save money when traveling is just to be really flexible with your dates. So there are two parts to this, and the first is flights, just making sure to get your flight on a Wednesday rather than like a Friday, because it could be way cheaper. Checking out the specific dates, so traveling around President's Day, that long weekend could be more expensive than a weekend before or after. Also, the time of year.
So it would be awesome to go to France in the summer when everyone else goes, but potentially also way more expensive. More about that winter travel in my last vlog.
The second part is considering the costs of once you get to your destination. So if you're traveling to Martha's Vineyard in the summer when everyone's going there, you might get these prices. Versus if you go in February, you might get those prices. However, it might not be worth it to go when everything's closed. But also just considering the specific events.
And this is a big one because it happens every year. A lot of college kids graduate in May, April, June. So if you're going to someplace with a lot of colleges, just being aware of that, because things could be way crowded, way overpriced, and it just might not be worth it at that particular time of year. Unless, of course, you're going for graduation.
However, with all that being said, you have to do what's best for you, and what's best for us in this situation is flying out on a Friday, because jobs can only be so flexible. So do what makes sense and is what you want to do.
You may be wondering, why even visit Portland, Oregon? That's a valid question because it's not really known for anything spectacular. One reason I came in the past was because I did the whole Pacific Northwest sort of trail. I went from Portland to Seattle, Washington to Vancouver, Canada, which was awesome to see. I did a mix of planes, trains, and even a bus, I think. So that could be a good trip for you. Also, it's just kind of an urban environment that's hipstery, has microbreweries and nature. So if that's your jam, that's another reason to go. For us personally, it was just something new to see, and we're based on the West Coast, so it was more convenient. So yeah, just for fun.
So not gonna lie, that was a bumpy ride and it's raining. But now that we're at the airport, the first order of business is getting to the hotel. And the easiest and quickest way to do this is taking a Lyft or an Uber. Those are the prices quoted right now, but I imagine there's also surge pricing. So you could deal with that. We're gonna take public transportation. Apparently it's only $2.80. It is longer, but I'd rather pay that, so.
We arrived in the mid-afternoon and it was cold, dark, and rainy, so we just kind of lingered for a bit. And this airport is an interesting one to spend time in. First, there was this Hollywood theater that was showing a documentary thing, which is interesting, love the thought. Also, I noticed that there was a lot of alcohol at this airport, and I say this from the perspective that I was looking for food places and kept finding whiskey places, which is just kind of funny. Also, this airport is just so green and lovely. Look at this.
This airport is absolutely gorgeous. But seriously, who did this? Like, whose actual brilliant idea was this?
To get to the hotel, we took the Max Light Rail. It was the red line. And the ticket kiosk was at the baggage claim, and it was so easy to use. The tickets were only $2.80. And the station was right outside the arrival hall, which was very manageable even when it was raining. The ride was smooth. It was only 38 minutes, and you get to see all of these views. My only real complaint is that it could be unmanageable if it were crowded on that day with suitcases, because there wasn't enough room to just sit comfortably with a suitcase, and there was no place to store suitcases. But it was empty when we were there.
So we just got to the hotel, which I really enjoy. It has this 20s vibe. It's all shiny and kind of gloomy. But now is a great time to talk about where to stay if you're coming to Portland. So if you're looking for something just really easy, the best thing to do is just to go downtown because it's very walkable. There are mixed reviews on downtown, and this has to do with safety and other problems that Portland is experiencing with poverty. Another place to go is the Pearl District, which is pretty close to downtown, just a little further in that direction. Trendy, has its own thing going on. There's Nob Hill, which is a little further away as well, but Portland is known for having a lot of cool neighborhoods, so maybe that's worth checking out. Everything that I just recommended is on the west side of the river, which is where I am. And then there's also the east side, which I know nothing about and probably won't go there, but the internet says it's cool as well, so yeah.
Honestly, I was pretty tired at this point, but we still decided to go out and walk around, and we found
Powell's books,
which is just huge. Apparently it's a chain, and this one just has a lot of different rooms. They're color coded, so right now I'm in the literature section, but You can find a lot of stuff here.
But actually, it claims to be the largest independent new and used bookstore in the world. And it's a chain. And the largest location is downtown, so if you're in the area, this could just be a fun little touristy side quest.
Good morning. I'm taking a walk. I'm currently in Chinatown. It's about 38 degrees gray and kind of depressing. And it's not because of the weather. It's just there's a lot of visible poverty and drug use that is pretty common in this part of town, so.
Then I walked along the Waterfront Park Trail, which had some nice river views, but I also stumbled upon this literal dumpster fire, and no worries, someone was there before me, called the fire department. They came, put it out quickly, and the rest of my walk was pretty nice.
So I ended up in a nice residential area, and the thing that really struck me was just that there were these city buses and trams taking people where they need to go. And I never really thought about living in Portland, and I'm not sure I want to, but I just love how accessible it is for everyone. And that's amazing. I feel like I'm in a Nordic country. It might also be the weather, but it's really nice. I'm happy I made it this far.
Then I went to the farmers market, which happens every Saturday on Portland State University's campus. And there's just so much. It's all food, so if you want other stuff, this isn't the market for you. But there's pastries and fruit and meat and cakes, and it was just a lot.
Behold, mouse paint.
We decided to see museums today and started with the Schnitzer Museum of Art, which is on Portland State University's campus. It has free admission, and during that time it had an exhibition on play. I will say it was a small museum, but it's free.
A place where people have lived for thousands of years.
And now we are at the Oregon Historical Society, which is 3 levels of exhibits.
This museum essentially houses all things Oregon, including art, history, politics, natural history. Adult tickets are $14 each, and these museums aren't really my thing, but it could totally be worth it for you.
Hey, so I just want to pause for a sec and talk about the food situation. So I will say first and foremost, I'm not a foodie, but I did eat here, so I have observations and thoughts that I want to share. First, Portland has a diversity of quick food options. So right now I'm at the Midtown Beer Garden, which as you can see is outdoors, and there's a lot of food stands behind me. There are benches, and because it's February, there are heat lamps here. And this isn't the only food mall sort of area. There are also indoor ones, which is all to say, if you are a foodie, you'll probably find a lot to enjoy in Portland. Second, and this was a bit of a surprise to me, I didn't really see that many national fast food chains. They have a lot of regional chains and local offerings like I just showed you, but there was only one McDonald's that I found on the map. Didn't even run into it. One Wendy's that is on the other side of the river, and I couldn't find a single Burger King, so that's interesting. Third, and this is a personal one, I didn't see so many awesome vegetarian options. And I know if you're a vegetarian, just accept it. I do accept it, but I want to make people who are vegetarians and vegans aware of this. So, for example,
I went to the Mexican restaurant Noche yesterday, and it was very nice if you like meat. And I thought it'd be awesome for vegans and vegetarians too, because on the menu, they listed a bunch of entrees that you can make vegan. And so I thought, okay, I'll just try that. And I did choose one, and they said instead of fish, we're just going to put sliced apples on it. And, well, you can just see it. Like, that's a $24 appetizer. It's an appetizer, so.
And this wasn't an isolated incident. We also went to the green room, which was great for drinks and, again, meat options.
But I got a vegetarian risotto or something, and it was just a thin layer of rice and sauce. And I think vegetarian and vegan here just means no meat, which it does, but they're not really like a main dish, so. And don't get me wrong, there are probably a lot of awesome vegetarian and vegan options. It's just in my experience, I did look a lot, doing a lot of searches on Google Maps and didn't find any. That doesn't mean they don't exist. I'm sure they do. I just wanted to share my slice of experience.
Good morning. So today we were going to do more of the outdoor things, so we took an Uber to Washinton Park, and the first stop on our adventure was to the Japanese gardens. And then when we got here, we realized the tickets were like $21, and we didn't really want to do that. And it just so happened that on the way, the Uber driver told us about Pittock, which is a beautiful lookout point, and there's also a mansion. So
I want to pause here to clarify that you can explore a lot of Washinton Park for free. However, it was just so cold, gray, and rainy that I didn't really want to pay that much to go to the Japanese gardens in the winter when most things are dead. Sure, it could still be cool. We did see a lot of people lining up, but when there's this other attraction nearby, it just didn't seem worth it.
So we went to the mansion.
Henry Pittock was born in England, he grew up in Pittsburgh, and set off to find his fortune along the Oregon Trail. He's known for being a newspaper publisher, but actually made his fortune through all sorts of investing. He got married, they had a bunch of kids, and the house was built in the early 1900s. I love so much about this house. There is so much detail, so much natural light, and it's very functional. Also, it has an original Otis elevator, which is significant because it was one of the first elevators installed in a private home.
Seriously, this is probably the best mansion tour that I've ever been on, and I've been to a lot, including in Newport, Rhode Island, which is famous for its mansions, so would highly recommend. And
our ticket also allowed us entry to the Gate Lodge, which was home to the family who took care of the property for many, many years. However, in comparison to the mansion, it was kind of underwhelming.
And right behind the mansion is this beautiful view.
Which is a great time to mention that the nature here is stunningly beautiful. There are so many hiking trails right here by the mansion and also right outside the city.
And we stopped for coffee at Noche Familia Cafe, which offers Brazilian-style coffee, and it's awesome. Look at this space, and then there's more space over there. I just didn't want to disturb people. And I forgot to mention that yesterday we went to a cafe. It was the Behind the Museum Cafe, which was behind the Portland Art Museum.
And I would highly recommend that one as well. It has a lot of cool, different offerings. For example, I got the Ojicha latte, which is a roasted green tea. And the person who served me said that it had a very earthy taste. And I can 100% agree that it had a very earthy taste. So then we walked over to the OMSI Museum, which is a science museum. It's mostly geared towards kids, but there's a lot of cool exhibits to see there. And we were there on the first Sunday of the month, which is a $5 day.
So worth it.
So that was a lot, and before I go, I have some thoughts about Portland and budget travel. First, I wouldn't say Portland's the best city for tourists, so I had a fine, okay time. It was great to see new stuff and just walk around and be on vacation.
It has, a nice selection. It's a city like a lot of others. And like I said earlier, I did come to Portland before on a trip through the Pacific Northwest, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver. If Portland is part of a greater adventure in Oregon or the Pacific Northwest in general, then definitely stop here. But if you are saving all your vacation time for one place, maybe try Seattle.
Sorry, that was negative, and I did do some rethinking, and regarding the Japanese garden, I totally changed my mind. This is the day that I'm flying back, and I wasn't going to do anything at all, but the weather's a little better. The sun's in my face rather than rain, so I'm glad I came. I get it. It's more than just a garden. It's a total immersive experience, and I understand the cost of the ticket now. Second, just be mindful of your surroundings. Portland does have some problems with poverty and drug use and...
More information on that there, but it's something that I did see, and I know others have warned about in other websites I consulted before coming here, so it's just something to be aware of.
And regarding museums, I shared with you my experience at the Schnitzer Museum and the Oregon Historical Society. The other museum we went to was the Portland Art Museum, which was the one that we were most looking forward to. But then when we arrived, we learned that it was under construction. So instead of 2 floors of exhibitions, there was only 1.
And the tickets were around like $25 for adults. And that was just the most expensive museum with, less offerings, relatively speaking. So that was kind of disappointing. If you're really interested in the current exhibition, maybe it's totally worth it for you. For us, it was kind of like, wow, this is interesting and expensive and just a little disappointing given expectations. So hopefully the construction's done by the time you get there.
And walk, if you can, to Mill End's world's smallest park, because it's there. It's kind of depressing, but at least you can say you've been. And also taking the light rail.
It is extensive, and of course we did use it to go from the airport to the hotel as well as to one of the museums. And you can get to a lot of places, but it won't get you everywhere. So maybe it might not be the right option for you if you want to go outside of the city, but consider it if you want to come here, stay here, and also save a lot of money because rental cars can be pricey.
Also, and I know nobody wants to hear this, but travel is a luxury, which means if you can't do it financially, don't do it. Wait. In our experience, one of us is paying for the hotel with credit card points, and the other is paying for flights with credit card points. So that's why we can do it, and I wouldn't be doing it if it weren't this cheap. And go to the Japanese gardens if you have a chance. I heard that these gardens are very similar to the ones actually in Japan, so if that interests you, maybe you should come here. Also, I will say, if the weather's bad, they do have indoor spaces, so it's good to know. So, did you like Portland? Seriously, have you been here? What did you do? We only explored a small part of Portland, and this is in part because we didn't have a car. I'm sure that there are a lot of other things to do, especially outside the city, that we just missed.
Please subscribe.
What would you do here? Have you done stuff here? Let me know in the comments. And as always, I love vlogging and I love taking you with me, so thanks for joining.